The Queen is finally at rest this morning after a long and loving goodbye. Her funeral began early evening in Australia, but some of the most moving moments happened while you were sleeping. The famous long walk at Windsor was crammed 30 deep with well-wishers. As the Queen's procession arrived, they came in their tens of thousands.
They are incredible pictures, aren't they? As Her Majesty entered Windsor Castle, her devoted corgis were waiting patiently. The pictures of Mick and Sandy on the steps moved many to tears.
And then an incredibly emotional final farewell from her family in St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. King Charles choked back tears as his mother was lowered into the royal vault to be with Prince Philip again.
This is a live look at Windsor Castle, where the royal family has held a private burial for Her Majesty after a funeral fit for a queen.
Elizabeth Alexandra Mary, the Queen, arrives home to Windsor. St George's Chapel, the final part of the final goodbye. The symbols of her imperial power, the crown, the orb and the sceptre removed as the bagpipes faded. And the coffin was lowered into the royal vault. The royal family watched as Her Majesty's reign gently slipped away. Beginning in London at Westminster Abbey, for all the grandeur, all the colour, they called it Britain's saddest day. Her Majesty was carried by 8 Grenadier Guards, bearing the weight of a grieving nation and family. The King, his siblings, his sons. Following, 7-year-old Princess Charlotte and her brother, Prince George, a 9-year-old schoolboy who will one day be king. Together they sat, the future of this ancient monarchy. Upon the coffin, flowers picked from the gardens at Buckingham Palace, Highgrove and Clarence House. Tucked in, a note on Buckingham Palace stationery. In loving and devoted memory, Charles R. The signature of Charles Rex. His mother is gone, he is king.
Here, where Queen Elizabeth was married and crowned, we gather from across the nation, from the Commonwealth, and from the nations of the world, to mourn our loss.
The service, the 9 hours of funeral ceremony, curated by Her Majesty. Hymns also sung at her wedding to Philip, a guest list no one else in the world could match. Presidents, prime ministers and fellow monarchs. Her third cousin, Queen Margrethe of Denmark, sitting at the front alongside Crown Prince Frederik. Across the aisle, Charles, Camilla, the royal family, under the strain of a fortnight of public grief and private pain.
Her late Majesty famously declared on a 21st birthday broadcast that her whole life would be dedicated to serving the nation and Commonwealth. Rarely has such a promise been so well kept.
The first sovereign's funeral at Westminster Abbey in 262 years. For all the history and traditions this nation holds dear, Elizabeth was determined to have this happen her way. Taking the long way to Windsor. So thousands more could catch a glimpse of the only queen they've ever known, the only queen they may ever know. Waiting at Hyde Park Corner, those precious great-grandchildren, a final salute from a morning sun. Waiting at home, her corgis, Sandy and Mick. This nation, the world, says goodbye.
And live now to Hugh Whitfield at Westminster and Bianca Stone at Windsor Castle. Hugh, an extraordinary farewell for a remarkable Queen.
Gosh, it was pitch perfect in every way. Not a step out of time, not a hare or a horse or a corgi out of place. It was the majestic, very British farewell for this country's most beloved monarch. And with at least 1 million people on the streets and all that public grief, there was a lot of private pain for this family as well. I think some of the lasting images of the day will be that of the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. Charlotte is just 7 years old. Prince George is 9. They are second and third in line to the throne. They will remember this day for the rest of their lives. And King Charles, clearly distraught at the loss of his mother 2 weeks ago now, as the gravity and the responsibility that he has taken on takes hold.